Dave, I was just talking about you today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, not for very long, but briefly. Remember that thing I did where there was an AI computer that was writing testimonials for you?
Yeah.
Well, he's been in touch with me, and I've nominated you as a bit of a guinea pig for us. So if it's all right with you, I think you're right, because you sell to consumers, because you're doing digital marketing and SEO and things like that, you fit the bill for them. For people like Simon, who are mostly interested in builders, it's not so important to do well on SEO, but getting lots of reviews is good for you. So if it's all right with you, in a couple of weeks, when I meet him again, I'll use you to discuss it, and then I'll probably come to you with him and say, can we set you up? And
Yeah, I think the only thing I was worried about with that is they would all look too generic, Whereas if you actually look at my reviews, they're all very individual about a lot of it's what happened on their actual reno.
Yeah,
that's the only thing
I agree.
I'm really worried about.
I agree. I think from his perspective, they're working on the AI, so it's writing better stuff. So there's that, and also more is better. So you can still do the individual ones, but where somebody's too lazy to do an individual one and write you something good, you might get this. And because the more you have, right, Google goes, oh, look at all these, and puts you higher up the chain for the ones on the map and all that, and the SEO generally. So I'm keen to explore it if it's all right with you. He was excited. We just looked at your website.
For sure. I mean, I'm usually pretty good at sending them the link to leave me a review, and if they don't do it the first time, I'll probably send it another time just to keep hassling them. But I know when I get on well and I know they should leave a review, I usually hassle them. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, thanks for saying you'll be the guinea pig. We'll see how it goes, eh?
Yeah.
I've been embarrassed a couple of times. I've tried to demonstrate it to you on this call because I can't fucking make it work every time. So I won't do that again. He'll help me now. All right. Hey, Dom. Nice to see you. How are we? All right. Look, while we see if anyone else is coming, who's had a win? Anybody had a win this week to report?
I've had a win this week. The last couple of weeks, things have been going quite well. We've had quite a few new clients that I've been waiting for. So it's the new work I've been hoping to get into, and things have been going along quite well. So overall for the month, it's been all right. It's been good.
Good on you. Well done. Dave, anything?
I signed up 2 new bathrooms this morning, so I guess that was a pretty good win.
Yeah, it's not a bad start to a day, is it?
Yeah, no, it's good. So, yeah.
And Dom, have you had anything to report?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Your phone's ringing or something, isn't it? Someone's talking to you.
Not me. No, sorry. I'm in the hospital. Danny's just had day surgery for an endoscopy, so.
Shit, you all
right? She's fine. Just a routine thing. But yeah, I'm just picking her up from Royal North Shore here, and it's just taking longer than we expected as usual. And we're all good though.
Okay, good.
Wins wise, I don't really have anything to report. It's been a pretty challenging week, cash flow wise. This time of year is always a bit of a juggle. And yeah, we had one of our suppliers cut us off this morning. I had one of my carpenters go to pick up some timber from a timber yard, and they said, no, you didn't pay it before the 31st, so we're cutting you off. And normally they give you sort of 2 or 3 days, and we always keep that in mind because that's how we sort of manage things sometimes, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
And I've been using these guys for 10 years or so, and I just think it's fucking rude if I'm honest with you. But
it is a bit.
Yeah, no, it's always a bit of a juggle this time of year. So yeah.
Yeah, we won't be enjoying
anyway,
that.
But other than that, we're no. So I'm going to give them a call this afternoon and give them a spray. But
did you sort it? Could you call on your relationship and get him to release the timber? And
they're getting stricter and stricter. I think there's a lot more builders sort of under stress at the moment, and we had the same thing happen with Bunnings late last year, because normally we stretch the friendship a bit there and ask them for an extra sort of week or 2 after it's due, just if cash flow's tight.
Yeah, especially over Christmas, right, when you don't work for 3 or 4 weeks.
That's right. Yeah. So but they're getting stricter and stricter with this sort of thing, and I think it's just becoming the way these suppliers are doing things, because builders are going to the wall. So yeah, it's just tough times, I think, and the more builders I speak to, the more I see that sort of I'm not the only one having had a hard time last year, and this year's looking up, and I've had a lot of inquiries and a lot of sort of potential work coming up, but just it's still sort of dragging on from last year a bit.
Well, look, you're probably not alone. I am going to present on cash flow a week on Monday for a while. I've been writing it today, actually, so I might include some of the things you've said into what I talk about, because I'll probably be encouraging you to do what those bastards are doing and not let people drag out their terms too long.
No, well, we don't. We sort of need people to pay on time, and if they don't, we can get a bit nasty. But
look, where
you just think if you've got relationships with these suppliers, and they don't give you a warning at least, and they just cut you off, it's a bit rude, and it's a bit it just makes our job.
Well, it is rude, and
harder.
it's not really in the spirit of a relationship, is it? But
no.
It is increasingly common. All right, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. I do have to remind everybody about the workshop. Are you guys all coming? Who's registered? I'm just looking at Dom, you're registered. You're coming virtually. Dave, you're not registered yet.
Yeah, I'm going to try and come, but I've not registered. No.
All right, I'm going to put a link.
Can you send out an email for that, or how do you do that?
I'm going to send you a link right now. And you can, I know, look at me. Oh, I don't know. Fuck, Venus is doing this. That's what just happened there.
There's definitely an email sent out with all the stuff on it. Well, I got one anyway.
Yeah, there'll be an email from Venus. Let me just ask Venus. Can you resend it to Dave?
So they'll come see you in the morning.
Okay, so Venus should resend it to you, Dave. Simon, are you coming?
Yeah, I'm coming. I'll be there.
Are you going to be here in Byron?
Yeah.
Excellent. You're coming to Byron, aren't you, Toby?
Yeah.
Excellent. And Dom, you're coming on the line. Dave, are you going to come in real life too?
What's that?
Are you going to drive up to Byron?
Yeah. You're on 2 hours away.
Yeah, good. So there'll be a few of us in Byron. It looks like there'll be 10 or 15, which will be nice. We're on a little bit of a mission.
I got my email on Tuesday.
On Tuesday?
Yeah. It obviously says it's coming from you, but I can tell.
Yeah, it's not though. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
it's coming from Entreport, which is our email system.
Yeah, but that's and it's got all the links because it talks about top flights and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, good. Okay, I've just asked Venus to send it out, so she'll send it out again, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I'm going to do something a bit new on the call today, right? I'm going to try and start doing something a bit new. I told the guys who were on yesterday, and obviously I spend quite a lot of my time trying to make my coaching better, right? So that you get more out of it. And I do a lot of learning from my coaches. So I'm going to do 2 things with regards to these weekly calls. I'm going to ask you to come with a question. Right? So, in the past, I'm like, right, who's had a win and who's fucked something up and learned a lesson and what are you working on? And have you got a question? I'm going to put it onto you a little bit and say, come with a question. Right? And if you've got a question, put your hand up at the start of the meeting and you can go first. Right? And partly this is stimulated by this is what my coaches are doing. And I went to my coaching call yesterday and I was like, right, what do I want from this before I got on? I'd put a little pressure on myself, 8:15 in the morning yesterday. I'm like, right, fuck, what do I want from this today? What am I going to ask them? What do I need? And of course, obviously the workshop's coming up. So I was like, right, that's my urgent thing. And we're focusing on that. So I asked a question about that and I got directed to some resources. And now I'm doing some stuff that I would have left till the last minute otherwise, right? So I want you to think like that a little bit. What do I need help with? What am I trying to achieve at the moment? Where am I stuck? You know, and if the answer is that I'm not really doing anything at the moment because I'm working too hard on the tools or in the guts of things, maybe that's your question. Maybe your question is, can't seem to make time for this. Help me with that. Venus is just responding. So that's what I think I'd like for you, right? Just, you know, do that. If you don't, right, if I come to the call and you don't have a question, I'll still use my framework to try and tease out some questions for you or from you, because that's what the framework's for. But if I think it will be good for you to kind of prep yourself and come with, you know, right, I want help with this today. The second thing is trying to multitask. Venus is messaging me about David. I'm not very good at this, am I? The second thing is, with regards to accountability, right? I'm setting up the squads. You're familiar with those, aren't you? I've mentioned them before. You're going to be put in a squad. I'm going to schedule a meeting, or David's going to schedule a meeting, or Emily's going to schedule a meeting. And it's going to be a short little meeting, right? We're going to ask you what your commitments are, what you're going to try and do between now and this time next month. We're going to write that down. We're going to schedule the next meeting for a month later. And then you're going to have to show up at the meeting and say whether you did it or not. Right? And the idea is you use that to keep you accountable for doing those things. And they should be the things in your strategy, right? That's the point of it. It should be the stuff in your strategy. And every time we do a quarterly workshop, you should be revising and resetting your priorities. So it should be from that little list. What am I going to do first? Which one of those am I going to work on? And then I want you to break it down a bit. You know, if one of your things is hire another carpenter, that's a big job. So maybe by the next week, you're going to have, you know, written a job description, written a job ad, and placed an ad. Right. So it's jobs you could do by the time you meet again. Well, I'm going to bring the same thing to these calls, right? So what I'm going to ask you today, you four, at the end of the call is, what's your commitment for next week? What are you going to do between now and next week? And then when we show up on Thursday, Melko will have written some notes and emailed it out to you. And I can look at my notes and go, you know, Toby, you said you were going to do this. How did you go? Yeah, I know, right? It's a bit terrifying, isn't it? So I'm going to try and bring that in a little bit so that it reminds you basically of what you said you'd do. Now, we're all big boys, right? If you didn't get to it, you didn't get to it. Well, we can carry it over, or we can quiz why you didn't get to it, or we can look for an alternative. But I want to bring that rhythm in. You know, I want to have you a little bit more accountable, I think, to doing the stuff. Because one of the biggest dangers for all of you is getting sucked into, you know, the day-to-day, being on the tools or managing things or whatever, and not doing the things that, you know, you came here for. So I'm going to keep trying and learning this stuff. Okay, and watch me keep coming back with new stuff. But all right, so does anyone have a question? Hey, Brad.
I don't have a question, but I was coming today with a bit of advice, I guess, on a scenario that came up a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So there's this other plumbing company that we sort of share jobs a little bit. He used to work for me for a couple of years, but he sort of does different scope of works. Anyway, short story is, come across a client that deals a lot with commercial property and tenancy and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And he was going to meet her to put my name forward, but he has a friendship with her. It's quite a good one. Apparently they have about 80 tenancies in Brisbane, 80 shops, all different shops, high rises, gyms, all that sort of stuff. She's put forward for him to be the middleman, but I still do the work. So obviously I think it sounds silly. He's going to put commission on my work, but he's sort of hanging in there for the big emergency jobs, like the 100 mil burst copper mains, something like that. So I don't want him to lose the client. I said, stay in contact and we'll work something out, but I still feel it's silly him being the middleman. So,
well, it doesn't seem like he's adding any value, does it?
It's just things going to get lost communication from her to him to me and back and forth.
If I were you, I'd go to him and say, this seems a bit stupid.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to her and say, no, let's not do this. You can't be telling him and then he tells me. It's just putting a link in the chain for things to get misunderstood.
Yeah.
what's the point in that? He's got his own business to run. He doesn't need to be passing jobs and managing my jobs.
Yeah, so I haven't got her contact details yet, but I'm pretty good relationship with this plumber, and I think I will just say, look, if you're going to go ahead, it's me full time dealing with her. If the big jobs come in, we can talk again, but that flow of maintenance jobs would be really good for me.
Look, probably you just need to agree which jobs she gives to you and which jobs she gives to him.
Yeah.
Just say, look, let's agree between the three of us. If it's this kind of job, you send it to him. And if it's this kind of job, you send it to me. Don't be sending him jobs that he passes to me, because, you know, he'll forget and then I won't show up and he'll be pissed off with me.
And then I got to chase him for money. It's all just
all that, right? And then you know, is he going to charge a margin? Is she going to pay an extra for him to put 10% on for passing the job to you?
Yeah.
Does she want to pay 10% extra for that?
Yeah.
Fuck that. That's just it's a mistake to let that shit happen. So no, I would avoid that and say, look, it's just going to cause everybody frustration.
Yeah.
I've experienced it before. I've got tangled up to fuck with things like that with people like IBM, and they've never worked. Right, 20 years of working in corporate, that shit's never worked.
She's all about after the good service, but it's just not going to happen with too many people. We'll get lost in communication. So.
Yeah, we'll get lost. Yeah, just have, you know, you for some jobs and him for different jobs, a clear understanding, and then she can talk to both of you. You're both friends, so you can both not piss each other off or get in the way.
Yeah.
Good question.
Well, John, I was wondering, I'm looking into.
Anyone else?
Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I was listening. I had my listening face on.
I'm looking to get a job management system, but I just wanted to ask a few guys on here what would be probably the best one for myself, because there's so many. I just didn't want to waste time trying to get used to one. Then I don't like it. It's like, you know. So I just wanted to ask like which job management system might be best for project trades. You know, quite a small team.
Well, I've written an article on which ones are good for which. So I stick to the mainstreams, but I've just Googled job management system bathrooms.
Yeah.
And the ads that have come up are Fergus, Next Minute, Simpro, and Nexus, which is field service. Work Buddy says it's for bathroom installers. I've never heard of that. Sounds American. You know, I'll put it like this: Tradiefy and a couple of other, and Fergus are really good for maintenance.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't need to be overly complicated. It's more, I need a good schedule that the guys can log into and see where they're going to be without me phoning them 5 times a day. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I would probably suggest ServiceMate. I think ServiceMate straddles the gap between.
Are they iPhones only?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think only one of us has got an iPhone. But
I know, but you know what? Buy 2 iPhones, $2,000, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had to bite the bullet and shift from Galaxy to an iPhone because Lindsay and Venus said, we can't support you if you don't use an iPhone, John. Get an iPhone.
Yeah.
You know, so I got an iPhone and bit the bullet. So, you know, for the sake of 2 phones, probably would just go and use ServiceMate and be done with it.
Yeah. But is ServiceMate quite hard to set up, or is it?
No, ServiceMate is reasonably easy to set up. It's very stable. There are loads of ServiceMate partners who can help you do it and are reasonably, you know, are helpful and knowledgeable. And I know a few of them and can introduce you. Like, you know, Toby's using Simpro, and that's very complicated and very good for bigger jobs and inventory management and all that kind of stuff. And ServiceMate's easier to use, and people find it easy. Simon, what are you using?
I'm using Arrowflow at the moment, but I have used ServiceMate with other people, and it is quite good. I moved to Arrowflow for my project and inventory and all that sort of stuff, but ServiceMate sounds like it might be for you, Dave.
Yeah, okay.
That would be my pick. I wouldn't be looking at one of these. I wouldn't be looking at one of these weird American ones that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Stay the fuck clear of those. Get a nice market leading stable one, you know. The builders over here on the right of my screen will be looking at builder stuff. So I reckon ServiceMate.
Support is the main thing. If you can get someone that has good support, that's the key.
Yeah. Arrowflow is good, but it's more complicated and harder to use than ServiceMate.
And simple. Like you only need it for what you need it for. You don't need it for all this other shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Was that clear enough? ServiceMate, we think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to get some advice before I start trying one. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and there's talk to ServiceMate first, but they've got on their website people who can help you. ServiceMate partners. I think Fitbit's quite good. Office Shed's quite good at ServiceMate. So if you want to, I know them. So they're quite familiar with setting it up and running things for you and things. So you've got some, easy places to start to get help as well.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Hey, you're welcome. Who else has got a question? Brad, have you had another meeting with your man yet?
No, I haven't. I'm still waiting on his email. So he seems to have gotten a little bit distant since my original email. But I will be
playing
doing
hardball, mate. That's what he's
doing.
doing.
Yeah. Look,
so Brad's in it for everybody else. Let's just update everybody. Brad's got a big job he's working on, 1 to 1.5 mil, a renovation extension. And the guy's been telling him he's got the job, but then has come back and said, you're too expensive. Look at those rates. That's really bad. He's just right. And he's basically pushed back quite hard. And he said, let's not do cost plus, let's do fixed price. And Brad's gone back to say, of course I can do fixed price, but I'm not discounting my rates. And we're there, right? The guy's gone quiet and he's going to be going back in for the, a negotiation, having a meeting, defending the rates, explaining how they work, expecting the man to go, the outcome we want is the guy says, all right, give me a fixed price quote, use those rates. I accept that they're fair. He's been told what Brad's rates were last year by some friends of his who referred Brad to him. And they were lots less last year. And Brad lost money on that job. So he's not doing that again. So we're going to go through that, right? He's going to go through that negotiation, but he's under a bit of pressure. He really wants to win it.
That's right. And, it really is up to me now in whether I want to pursue this job. I mean, it hasn't really, it started off amazing, meetings went really, really well. Really just until the rates got brought up, that's when all of a sudden I was just like, oh, hang on a minute. So yeah, I got some thinking to do as well, from my end, whether I think that has the relationship been sort of, tarnished to a point where maybe I should just move on before I sort of get too deep and just move to the next job. I
don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you've got a process to follow now where you say, look, what we said yesterday, I've put my rates up since last year because I was charging too little and I didn't make money and I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is the deal now.
Yeah, I ultimately I sent this email yesterday. I gave him the day to sort of, email me back. Obviously he hasn't. So I'll probably just give him a bit of a follow-up today. And he generally is pretty slow with emails. He always has been, even when, before rates were discussed. And, so he's a surgeon. So he's, he goes into work sometimes for 16 hours straight. So I can understand that he may be just a little bit busy at the moment, but I'll give him a bit of a push. And as you say, we'll have to set up a meeting, whether it's this weekend, and really sort of set out.
What are his rates, Brad?
What's that? Sorry.
Oh, exactly.
What are his rates? Ask what his rates are and see if you can compare.
Yeah, exactly. And I think,
look, I think he's just pushing because he's pushing.
Yeah.
And this is my experience for when people are negotiating about the money and the price. The actual price, they don't really care. They want to make sure they don't embarrass themselves and pay over the odds like a spastic, right? That's what they want. Especially somebody rich. What does he care if it's an extra 50 grand for you? He makes that in a week.
Well, that's right. And at the very start of this job, he made it quite clear that, I did say that his budget probably wasn't really, reality. It might be an extra few $100,000 than what he thought from face value of these plans. And that was all fine. It was no dramas. He said, all I want is a quality job. That's all I want. I'm not worried about, the extra money sort of thing. But then, as soon as you actually
so it's not the money, right?
It's
It's not the money. It's not the total charge. It's not the affordability. It's the pride of not overpaying. And, he doesn't want to have to go back to his mates and confess that he paid a lot more rates than them and he's a chump.
Yeah.
So you've got to, what you've got to do, I've been thinking about this a little bit. You've got to explain to him why your rates now, bigger than they were last year, are fair.
Mm.
Yeah,
And he should
that's
be
it.
going.
You can say it's industry standard. This is what this is for what we offer. This is standard.
Mm. Yeah.
Look, he's unlikely to go out there and find a really cheap builder who's as good as you, who's the 100k or 200k cheaper. That's
You
unlikely.
can always find cheaper, but they're shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. If he wants to go to the
You
other
can
good
find
builders
cheaper.
around,
You
you'll
can
be on the
find
money,
cheaper.
Yeah, it's funny. So he's got these magical figures in his head. He's got 12 to 15% margins that he said he's paid in the past, but those builders were the ones that has put him off building.
Yeah.
And because he had really bad experiences with them. So I can understand why now, that he's had those bad experiences, because they probably realised they were, obviously underquoted the job, and they've had to bring in just to compensate, and
or they didn't have any infrastructure, and they didn't know, they're those guys, right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, ultimately, looks like we'll probably go down the fixed rate path, I
think that's the right way.
Yeah, I think so too.
I was hoping for an update, but keep me informed.
So was I, John.
Yeah, I bet you were.
Yeah, I will. I'll keep you informed.
Yeah. Good luck. All right, Dom, do you have a question?
I do. I'm just struggling to sort of juggle a few things. I've just picked Danny up from hospital.
Hi, Danny.
If she can't hear. Danny Disso. And there's just shit going on everywhere. So, but I'm interested to hear about Brad's experience as well, because I'm in a similar sort of predicament at the moment to him with a client. And
bloody hospitals and their shielding. Look, let's talk about it at the workshop, right? Because we'll be talking about sales, and price is a big part of that, and negotiating.
Plus landscaping. So he's not he's not realistic with his expectations, I don't think, and it's just a matter.
We missed that. Can you repeat that, Dom? We missed it. You disappeared.
Sorry, I just went in the lift. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, but we missed all the time you were in the lift.
Right. Okay. Sorry. So I have a client at the moment, a similar sort of thing to what Brad was saying, who's sort of got unrealistic expectations about, the cost of things, and now his estimate, but it's not too far off. His budget's 1.4 for the whole build, and pool and landscaping, driveways, everything. Yeah. And I was already at 1.6 plus about 220 for a pool landscaping. And yeah, anyway, so it's just a bit of back and forth at the moment. Fix the price, because he sort of said to me, okay, well, he's happy to do a cost plus, as long as he doesn't spend $1 over the 1.4. And I said, well, no, I'd rather just fix the price.
That's not how it works, though, is it?
No, exactly right.
What do we do? Stop when we get to 1.4 and just go, that's it, mate. All right, budget.
Yeah, I think he's the type of bloke who'd probably take me to court if we didn't finish at 1 point.
Well, look, it can't take you to court. If you're on a cost plus contract and you tell him it's probably 1.4 and then you don't finish it for 1.4, it doesn't matter, because the contract says it's cost plus. There's no 1.4, right? An estimate of 1.4 when you've got a cost plus contract means fuck all legally.
1.6, yeah. It's a tricky one, that's all. And I think he's the type of bloke that would take me to court if it went too far over. So
yeah,
I thought I'd avoid all that and just get quotes from my suppliers. So I've asked for an extra couple of weeks to get him a fixed price, and we'll go from there. But yeah, he's pretty keen to move. So yeah,
we'll
look, see how
he probably needs a bit of educating, right?
Yeah.
If you said he's got unrealistic expectations, that's not his fault. He's not necessarily being a dick, and people get all sort of punchy with builders and things because they think you have to be tough and strong. So there's a bit of that often in there. I think your best defense is to come and show him the truth of how things are.
Yeah, show him where his money's going, so he can see this much here, this much there, and it doesn't equal to 1.4. It equals to 2 million because of all the sections rather than just one big lump sum. It's this cost this much, that cost. You don't need to go into fine detail, but you know, and then once you educate people and they can see where the money is, they go, oh, well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Look,
they can see where the value is, but
no,
he's obviously done some sums in his head as well.
Yeah, the thing is, and obviously he's a small-time property developer, so he buys blocks of land and puts houses on them, and he's been doing a lot of flips, and I think, you know, the numbers have got to add up for him. So I think he paid too much for the block at the time, and the product he's looking to put on there is sort of a high-end, you know, with the pool. It's on a big block in a, you know, nice leafy suburb of Sydney, and I think, you know, the numbers have all got to add up. So his budget of 1.4, and for him wanting to make 20% on the sale, it's sort of got to stay within that parameter. So he's sort of also looking at maybe reducing the scope and the size of the build to bring it back.
That's the only way, right? It's the only way for him to bring the cost down to 1.4. You know, what you need to do is kind of get an agreement to your rates and your margins, and then you just apply those to the build. And if it goes, oh look, it's 2 million. You know, if the rates have been agreed, you need to change what you apply them to. You need to take something out of the design till it gets to 1.4. You can't take it out of your margins. You know, fuck off.
No, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
It's the same as Brad, right? You know, you're going to have to stand a little bit firm. And this is a big thing, right? This is a big thing that customers do, and that builders in particular, but all trades really, all trades get hit with I don't want to spend that much, but I do want the thing. You have to discount, and the customer doesn't give a fuck how you discount, but they don't want you to give them any less, you know, and you'll feel an obligation to somehow help them meet their budget without, you know, taking a bathroom out or not doing the pool or something. And that's not your job, right? Your job isn't to cut your throat to help them get what they want. Your job is to go, this is what I charge, this is what you can afford.
Yeah, that's right.
Nicely,
you know,
nicely.
I've earned my stripes. You know, I've done my ass on jobs, and you know, had to sell our own bloody house to pay some bills at one stage. So been there, done that. I'm not fucking going down that path ever again. I was
just about to say that. You're not fucking doing that again. We don't want that, do we?
No. So but anyhow, I think it's a winner, and I think he's keen to work with us, and he's ready to move. So we just got to get the numbers right and make sure we're all on the same page from the get-go, and you know, it should be smooth sailing. And he's got other jobs coming up, so he's a good client to have, as long as he's, you know, the dickhead filter. My dickhead filter with this guy was going off pretty hard at the start, and I thought, I don't know if I want to work with this clown. And then I went and met him, and he's actually a really, really good bloke, and we got on well, had similar interests, and I think I could work with him. So the dickhead filter's off now. But
maybe he's not maybe he's obviously got a bit of stress on, right? You know, and as a builder, if you're working with a developer, that's always the hardest sell for you, because he's always got pressure, right? He's paid for a block of land. He needs to get the build as cheap as possible, you know, because he's got an upper ceiling at what he can sell the property for, particularly in this environment where the property market's not going up, you know, it might be coming down a bit.
Yeah.
He's going to be reconciling in his head, making less money than he was hoping, right? You know, the cost to build are going up, and the price he's going to sell it at in a year's time is probably going to be less than he thought. He's going to be in some pain. He might even not make any money. So you've got that situation. He's going to be pressuring the fuck out of you to keep the costs down on the build. You're going to have to stand firm. You're going to have to manage him properly. You're going to have to be really fucking strict with variations and things, because he'll be trying to squeeze you at every step. You know, it won't be like Brad's guy, who once he's decided that Brad's not a cunt, will be going, whatever, Brad, it doesn't matter. You know, right? That's going to be the case for you. Once you get it sorted and he decides he trusts you and everything's open, he won't care, right? You go, oh, well, it's going to cost you 50 grand if you want the pool 2 feet longer. You'll be like, yeah, all right, yeah. I don't care. I'll just do another knee next week, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
I once met a lawyer, a barrister, who actually said that to me. He was an absolute dick. He actually said to me, you know, oh yeah, we went to Europe, you know, and just the other day, I did some law on the plane, that paid for the trip. And I thought, oh, fuck off. Dickhead. So yeah, you're in a different position where you got to be sensitive to that. And this is something I like to think about, right? For builders or for everybody else, you always try and put yourself in the mind of your customer and think about what's going on for them. You know, what do they want out of this? Because we tend to think very hard about, you know, our perspective, right? We tend to focus very hard on price, and we tend to think about, you know, well, I'm being fair, and I'll try and do this, and this is how it appears to me. But you've got to put yourself in their shoes and think about what's going on in their mind and what are their priorities. You know, they used to teach us this in business. We used to do you do it, Toby, very complex selling, right? Where you're selling to an organization. So you can't talk to one man and think about what he's thinking. If you're talking to 4 or 5 people, or a fucking committee, or a committee and then somebody else and then the boss, you know, and then you've got to think about what each one of those wants as well. You know, you've got to think about how they get paid, or how they get measured, or what they're going to get in trouble for. So you need to try and do that, right? You know, let's talk about Brad and Dom for the moment. Put yourselves in their shoes. What do they want out of this? You know, Brad, your guy, he's wealthy. So he wants what he wants, and he wants to not overpay and feel like he's been made a dickhead out of, right? So you need to establish trust around the rates.
Yeah.
Dom, you know, you've got a guy who's under pressure, and you have to kind of hold him to the reality of the situation, which is it's not your fault.
Yeah, that's right.
That he might not do very well out of this project, you know, and that you can't be losing on the job to save his bacon.
No, that's right. But at the same time, yeah, well, at the same time, exactly. And I've done that too many times before. So, but at the same time, I think, you know, it was in my interest not to, because, you know, I spoke to him when I met with him the other day, and I said, what, you know, we were talking about contracts and we were talking about cost plus, and he was sort of open to either or, but he said, it's up to you. And I said, well, my margin's 25%. He says, I don't care what your margin is, and I don't care what your rates are, as long as it doesn't go over the 1.4. And I sort of thought, oh, this could get ugly. If I just sign a contract and jump into it and it goes over, you know, this could get ugly.
Well, which is going to, right?
Yeah. So I thought, you know, it's in everyone's interest that I sit down, I do the numbers. I've even reached out to that new estimator. I've got him on it as well, and I've sent all the tender packs out to my subbies and suppliers. So it's a process, and I'm going to spend a bit of time on it, and there's no guarantee I'll win it, but for a job that size, it could keep us busy for 9-10 months. You know what I mean? So
yeah, totally.
I think
your approach has to be to do what you're saying, right? To take that approach and say, look, I've got new and involved. Yeah. It's going to cost you this much. Let's look at the design and figure out how to get it to 1.4.
Can I ask a quick question as well?
Yeah.
Dom, do you know whether he does have any room to move over this 1.4? And if he doesn't, you know, are you wasting your time with the quote altogether? I mean, obviously, are you charging for the quote, or are you sort of just doing a free quote, or how are you running it?
Yeah, look, it's a free quote. Yeah, look, I don't know. It could turn out to be a complete waste of time, but I'm also taking it as an experience to sort of improve the way I do my quoting and tendering, and as an opportunity just to have these sorts of conversations with these types of clients, and just sort of really improve my my sales process, you know, and work out a way forward. But off the back of John's training, you know, so it's not a complete loss if I don't win it, because I feel like, you know, it's going to help me set up my actual price book and my my estimating software properly. So I'm doing that at the same time. It's a process, I know, but it's something that I feel like I need to do going forward, because we're trying to get into that new build. Yeah. We're trying to get into that new builds market.
Look, it sounds like it's winnable, right? You've got the relationship, you've got some trust. You just need to to fix the problem that he thinks he can get this for 1.4 when really he's going to get that, right?
Yeah, and he does have a bit. To answer your question, Brad, he does have. I think he said he can go back to the bank And he also said, oh, we can reduce it, or we can, you know, change the specs a little bit. But I think, you know, he's trying to sell a high-end product. So he doesn't want builder's range. He wants 138 high skirtings and 90mm architraves and ornate cornicing and, you know, European bloody tiles and, you know, this sort of thing. Like he's got a high-end spec in mind because he knows the type of buyer that he's trying to attract. You know, it's a spec home essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Again, if you go through the process, of doing the quote, you can then show him where the money's being allocated.
Yeah, you can.
You a much
better,
it gives you a much better idea of where the money is going, rather than again 1.4. Yeah, sure. What's and then there's this much in there, there's this much in here. Well, if you 1.4 ain't going to get you the fancy stuff that you want. You've got an Audi budget. You've got a Hyundai budget with an Audi buddy expectation. So you're going to have to either spend more money or try and find somewhere to cut the scope.
Yeah, but I feel like I can educate him, you know, and that'll be, you know, good for benefit both of us, you know, so that, you know, I get a better understanding of the job, and, you know,
so does he. He knows where the money's going.
Yeah, so does he. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Look, and it's this is a very familiar conversation, right? It's an age-old thing. Customer wants one thing and doesn't really understand that it's, you know, that you can't get that for the money you've tabled, and you have to reset their expectations. Better to do it now than later.
Mate, we hear it every day. Oh, you're over budget, and I want to know who's writing these frigging budgets, mate. There's not one accurate budget ever out there. Well, that's fine. We can do it for less, but not if you want all that. You know, like if you want all that at that quality, that level of quality, that your budget is wrong. We're not too expensive because we can lay out.
Look, I think companies and people, you know, just come into things like this on the basis that if you push, you get something.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got a budget. There's no such thing as a budget. I pulled a budget out of my arse. It means nothing. You know, what's your budget? My budget is how much I'd like to pay. Well, fuck off, you know. I mean, I can tell you what you can have for your budget, or I can tell you how much it's going to cost for what you've told me you want. They're not necessarily the same. If you can't have it for your budget, one thing has to change, right?
But that happens a lot. They go back, we'll need to come back to you with a revised scope. And then you go, like we can price jobs 6-7 times. And it's like, me, your expectations are completely way out, you know, like, I don't know who's giving you the advice from the start.
Yeah, the people try it on.
It's delusional.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. This is interesting. You know, my partner's a psychologist, right? And she says there are personality types where people will ask. There are askers and not so much askers, right? So I'm not really an asker, but there are people who will ask for more. And when you go no, they just feel satisfied that they asked and they got a no. Yeah. They're not even necessarily really want the thing so much. They know they can't fucking have it, but they're asking anyway, in case you go, all right.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of weirdness goes on around this. Yeah. Because you feel the pressure, right? Listen to you both feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we've probably talked about that enough. You guys take it to the next step and report back next week, and we'll see what we need to do, right? I'm guessing you won't have closed these deals by next Thursday. So you know, remember, this is a negotiation. Your job in a negotiation is to progress it, not necessarily to get a deal straight away. So progress your negotiation, be patient. Right, I've done some negotiation skills training, and if you want, I'll run a session on it.
Yeah, please do.
Like yeah, all right.
That'd be good.
I'll do that then. Now, see, Wayne's joined us. Wayne, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hello, mate. How you going?
Sorry, I was just trying to fix a cold room.
A cold room, all right.
Yeah, I'm down 2 blokes this week.
So you're on the tools. All right, well, look, what I've just said to everybody, Wayne, is I'm going to ask you all to come to these calls with a question every week. So do you have a question? Or are you just joining in because, you know, you felt like you could say hello?
No, Oh shit.
You don't have to have one. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that if you're in a cold room.
I don't. I'm in the car now waiting for a tech support, but
Right.
I don't have a. I got lots of questions. How do you keep people satisfied?
Ooh.
And not my wife.
Okay.
Other
I was gonna try and think of a joke for that.
Yeah. On a positive, I reckon I've got another senior trades refrigeration mechanic and another senior electrician coming on. So that could help me out a bit. But so that's not a question.
No, that's a win. We'll call that a win.
Yeah,
I'm interested in how do you keep people satisfied, right? Because I think there are some answers to this in terms of motivation at work, and it's that Daniel Pink stuff I talked about, right? So what keeps people motivated at work is autonomy, mastery, and making a contribution to something greater. So they like to be allowed to make decisions themselves. They like to get good at stuff, and they like to feel like what they're doing is worthwhile and helps something. Right. And I like to think of that as two things, you know, the greater good, they're contributing to the business and the business succeeding. Right. So you need to involve them in that and give them jobs to do and show them that it's working and help them understand how what they're doing helps the business succeed and why that's good for everybody. And then the wider community as a whole. Right. And a lot of companies are giving people time off to do voluntary work and shit like that. So think like that, right? That's how you keep them satisfied, is you satisfy their need for autonomy, their need to get good at shit, and their need to feel like what they're doing contributes to some greater good.
So I got something to build on that just quickly. I got a bloke that we call Pushback Pete at the moment. And you get to 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe not 1:30, maybe 2 to 3 o'clock. And more times than not, he finishes at 4, and more times than not, at 2:45, when you give him an hour or an hour and a half job, he says, I don't have time to do it, even without going to the job. And so now he's volunteer bush fiery. Do you think by me rewarding him by saying, hey, Pete, why don't you do some time, I'll pay a little bit of your time for you to spend doing your voluntary work, but I need you to, like, how do I get him then? Do I tell him, hey, I can give that for the trade-off that you go hard until 4 o'clock? How do you do that?
I don't think you do that. I don't think that's probably
not the right way, but
well, yeah. I don't think it's the right way to lead with. I think probably you need to understand why he pushes back so hard. Like, what's going on for him? You know, why do you push back when I give you a job at 2:45 and you go, I haven't got time to do that? What's going on for you then? Maybe he's got to pick the kid up at 4. You know, and he's stressing because the kid's going to be left at school crying on the pavement outside because his dad's fucking late. Or is he just lazy, or he doesn't like doing overtime, or like find out what's going on.
Well,
there might be something there that you can, because if he knows what it is, there might be something you can deal with.
Maybe I need to ask some questions. Yeah, sorry? I know.
Take him for a beer.
Said, hey,
take him for a beer and find out.
Yeah, maybe he likes to play golf and it starts at 4:15, and if he goes over, they'll start without him and he'll miss out on his golf. It could be any fucking thing, right? So you need to find out. He might just not like working overtime, and you need to, but at least if you know why, you can try and address it. You can try and give him what he wants, and still get what you want, right? Yeah, and then I would do that first. I think that's what I would do. Without going further, I would try and understand why and see if you can find a way to both get what you want, right? Because if his hours are till 4, he should work till 4.
Yeah, and then you need to explain to him why you need him to work before and why it's important that you, because if he just finishes at 1, like you're paying him till 4 to do what? Like, you've still got to pay him.
Yeah, that's
right.
He's
not making you money. How does that work?
Look, and maybe you explain that to him, because he might not understand. This is this contribution to the greater good, right? He might not understand or have considered that if he's not working on a job, you're still paying him and he's not making you any money. That's costing you, and that's, you know, making it harder for the business to make a profit and succeed and be sustainable. He won't have thought of that because people don't. So you know, the flip side of it might be what Toby says, you know, and if you sort of teach him how it works a bit, He might go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I don't want to do that to you particularly. I'm just thinking this, right? And that's what happens with people, right? Even intelligent people who want to help, because they don't get it, they only see it from their perspective. Well, I don't want to go over because fuck, why should I? Or, you know, I'll get caught in the traffic or fucking whatever it is. So I won't take a job on after 2 o'clock if it feels like I might go over. Why the fuck should I? Right. But if you then go, if you don't do a job at 3 and I still have to pay you, I'm out of pocket. That's bad. He might go, oh, I don't want to do that to you. So I would go there first, right? You know, he's an intelligent human. Help him understand and try and understand his position and see if you can negotiate a kind of, you know, an agreed way of approaching the situation. I'd always do that first.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll ask him if he wants to go for a beer, and if he can't, I'll still go for one.
Yeah, that's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, look, it's 8 minutes to 2. So commitment time, boys and girls. Brad, I think you missed this, but one of the new things I'm doing in these calls is every week I'm going to ask you to commit to one thing you're going to complete by next week. So it needs to be small enough that you can do it by next Thursday, because I'm going to write it down. And then next Thursday, I'm going to go, Brad, you said this. How did you go? Right. Same for you, Wayne. So who's going first? Who's got a thing that you're going to complete by next Thursday? Toby?
Yep. I've a couple of things. Working with the website people are back on deck for this year, so they're asking for content and bits and pieces from me. So that's ongoing for this week. And also, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to about a guy came to me about our terms of trade. And he wants to sell me terms of trade, but we're a member of NICA, so I think I can get them through there. When I told him that, he reckons that those terms of trade aren't worth the paper they're printed on. So I'm getting the follow up there now with NICA with their legal department about why he would be saying that. And why?
Yeah, possibly just because he's a dickhead salesperson.
Yeah, look, he didn't seem like he didn't seem like that.
Where was he from?
EC Credit Control, they're called.
Oh, yeah, I know them. Yeah. What's his name?
I know them too. I think
his name's Terry Ryan, but he's based down here in Canberra, I'm pretty sure. So he looks.
I think they're a franchise. They buy a franchise.
Yeah.
They're franchise, are they?
I paid about $3.5 for them to do the terms of trade for us when I was just doing carpentry contracting, and never once used them because I had to take one of my clients to.
They're basically debt collectors. That's what they are. And then they obviously write the terms.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. Their process is, if you haven't got terms of trade, it's very difficult to collect your debts because there's not really a contract that says they've got to pay. So they write terms of trade that set out the rules. You know, that set if people accept your quote, then they've accepted. Blah blah blah. You're doing big contracts, so your terms of trade are in the fucking contracts.
That's right. So, but it's for the smaller stuff. We sort of do. So the big jobs are all covered by contract, for sure. I'm pretty sure I don't need what he wants to sell, but like I said,
I think I'm with you. I think you probably get.
But I just want to do the back work and just go back to Nika and say, okay, well, why would he be saying this, and why would the terms you provide not be worth the paper they're printed on? Why is he saying that? And so why should I have to pay, the $2,000 to get what he's selling when I think I can get it from you? Yeah. So I just want to do the research and do a bit more, because I do want to get the terms of trade sorted, but I feel like if I don't have to pay $2,000, I don't want it. So I'll be doing that this week.
Good, I like it. All right, who's next?
Well, I may as well go next. I obviously want to have a bit of commitment from this guy, and I want him to give me some direction. So I need to obviously set up this meeting and actually sit in front of him, and as I said, find some direction in where we move on from here, and whether we do or whether we don't. And if we don't, well, that's fine. I can move on to the next one. But direction, I think I don't want to be wasting my time. I've I've done that before, and I've sort of heard a little bit. Obviously, I've done a lot of what Dom was sort of talking about before. He's obviously got a reason for why he's doing that, which is definitely fine. But I'm sick of wasting time, on people that are just going to use you in the end, ultimately. So that's mine.
Good. Okay.
How would you recommend
progress the discussion
just on that? Sorry, John. Can I just ask Brett just on how would you qualify them further to even bother? Like, how do you flesh out
you need to
from them whether they're going to commit?
I think you need to find out whether or not, as I said, 1.4, and it really is his absolute max. And if it is, and you can clearly see that it's going to go over 1.4, well, maybe, as I said, I'd probably have that conversation and just say, look, that it's just not possible. And, from here on, unless you're, willing to go to the bank or give me some confidence that if I do go over, look, it's, I don't want to waste my time. Something we do is I charge for quotes as well. So that for me, if they don't want to really get you, if they don't want you to do the job, they're not going to pay for the quote. So that for me is an instant qualifier, which has been.
I think he's qualified. I think your focus has to be two things: what you said about the 1.4, and you want him to accept your rates. I think that's your first target. Is you want you and him to agree a set of rates that gets applied to the design, and then an understanding of what happens when it goes over 1.4, which it's going to do. Will he throw his toys out of the pram? Will he expect you to reduce your rates to get it to 1.4, or will he find the extra money, or will he redesign with you?
Yeah, well, he's basically already said that to me, that he's willing to do those things if it does come in higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just, I feel like he's someone I can work with, and I think we've built the rapport. So, I've sort of already done the sales pitch side of things. As long as I can get the numbers right and within his expectations, so long as he's a reasonable person, I think we'd definitely work together. But it's just a part of the process, and I
think so. So your job's to progress the discussion too, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Simon, what's yours? Sorry to shut you down. I'm going to get two more commitments, one out of Simon and one out of Wayne before 2:00.
Mine is to create a Facebook ad for hiring. I haven't done that yet, and just need to go down that avenue.
Okay. Well, if you need help, there's the video to watch, and then book a 20.
Yeah, I have watched the video, so I might book it. So there we go.
Well, create it first, and then bring me what you've done, so I can shoot it down.
Yeah, nice. Work on the weekend.
Yeah, give me something to start on. Wayne, what's yours? What are you going to do, mate, by next week?
Fulfill my commitment to Graham to get him a Sparky and a Friggy. So they haven't signed, but they're coming. So that's hopefully an easy one. And I'm redoing the price book for split air conditioners.
Okay.
So that's been tidied up.
All right, I'll take that. I'm writing this down.
Where are you?
I'm going to ask you if you did it next week, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
And Dave's
whereabouts are you based, Wayne?
Toowoomba, Queensland. Not far from Brisbane. About an hour from Brisbane.
Dave. Dave Young, you're back just in time for me to extract a commitment from you for what you're going to do. Now you're muted. Unmute. There you go, mate. Okay, so what's your commitment?
I want to try and look into project management software. But obviously, if we're going 7 Pro, it's going to take a bit of time I'll have to get phones organised and shit like that.
Yeah, service mate. I'll write service mate.
Yep. But also, I want to try and find a good, reliable, chippy subby is probably a better one to focus on over a week, so as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Do you need any help with that? Do you need any thoughts? I mean, I probably would just put the word out, right? I would call HIA and master builders and ask them if they know anybody and put the word out.
Yeah, it's just a bit harder because it's quite a small area, and you know, the type of work I do, most carpenters don't really, they want to do full houses and stuff like that to make money, not really, you know, architraves and calf sliders, stuff like that I need. So it really has to be the right type of guy that's only takes on kind of smaller stuff, and you know, yeah.
Yes, you're looking for a kind of a guy who works on his own, who likes small jobs, you know.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, they do exist, you know. They're just not everybody. I'm with you.
Oh yeah, I've got them. They're just the ones that I do have are a bit unreliable and quite old school. Like it's mostly a couple of older guys that don't want to do much. You know, which is understandable. You know, if I was in their position, I would want to mess around with, you know, shitty old frames. You know.
No, I'm hearing you because I think it's one of the things that dogs this industry. You know, that nobody wants to do the small shitty jobs.
Yeah. No.
Why would you? Why would you want to go to someone's house or someone's business for $50?
Yeah, exactly.
$300. Like, fuck off. You know, and you get all these people on the Facebook groups going, you know, desperately need ex tradie just to do one job. We've bought all the materials, and I can just see every single tradesman who reads that thinking, go and get fucked.
Yeah. It's all handymen that apply for it, and then they're just usually shit, you know.
Yeah.
So
well, I've used a handyman and they're fine, you know. One came around $50 an hour, and I was like, yeah, I bought a cat flap, fit it for me.
Yeah.
Please don't talk to me, you know. It's fine, right? They have a place, but it's hard sometimes finding people for little jobs, right?
Yeah. But that's what I'm going to work on. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I've got it all written. Melka, I'm sure you've got it all written too. Has anyone got anything else, or do we go? Okay. Well, I'm going to keep writing about cash flow. I'm on getting paid quicker. We'll talk about that next week. See you guys.
Cool.
See you, everybody.
Lovely week.